Hey, Bill, I'm in the mood for a switch up. I hit the function, hit the rose till I hiccup. I hit the stage and leave with money that's a stick up. She picture perfect, so I told him I'm a flick up. Bill, I'm in the mood for a change up. I leave the city and return with my change up. They got amnesia, don't remember how they played us.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Spot Real Talk. My name is Tiara.
I'm LaWanda.
I'm Tiffany.
And I'm Ron.
And today we are back here to talk BMF. This is season 1, episode 6, and it was titled Strictly Business. It was a good one too. I think we got plenty to talk about, and it's burning me up. I can't wait. So guys, hang tight and we'll be right back with you. Everyone, we are back. Like I said, we're talking BMF. This is episode 6. So, wow, a lot happened this week. And I would like to first and foremost, I got to get this off my chest. We got to start with your boy, Lamar.
Oh, my Lord.
And
Lamar, we don't harm children.
No,
okay?
we don't do this.
Kill
right.
Children, and we don't beat them up in alleys. We
a little boy.
He's the worst.
Beat him up in the alley, stab him up in the alley. Like,
I mean,
what is going on here?
Like I said, I think we got to come up with something better than the hands for Lamar, because I'm trying to think of something. If y'all know what we can call it, let me know. But Lamar
I was thinking about it too, Ron, because I was thinking the hands ain't good enough, and I was like, couldn't he get the hands and the feet? I mean, do we stomp him out? And I was like, that might not even be good enough.
He came unraveled.
We might have to call Tommy to cancel Christmas on him. We're gonna have to put him on the cancel Christmas list.
Yeah, he was. Whoo, he was the boogeyman himself. He was Michael Myers.
Oh, definitely.
Very fitting for this Halloween weekend.
Yeah. Halloween in Detroit, because I mean to tell you, he was Michael Myers and then some. And, poor old Slick, rest in peace. But let me say
I called it last week.
You did. And let me say this about Slick. I know you were all battered up from the episode or 2 before, but Slick, your mind, you got to keep your mind in the game. Your boy told you that if it didn't work out with Mo, that somebody else was going to be on that list. And you knew what he meant.
Mm-hmm.
You go in, you start packing, because you know the boy's crazy. You hear him inside, and you talk to him and ask what happened. He tells you that it didn't work out. Right there, one or two things: fight or flight.
Well, he had a gun too.
The second he heard it singing,
he went back to get his gun, and he tucks the gun inside his waist, inside the belt. Me, I would have done one of two things. I'm either going to run like hell, or since I have my gun, when I go back into that room, I got my gun drawn. So it's the difference, it's going to be a knife versus a gunfight.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
He was maimed, so he wasn't going to get too far running. So he needed to use that gap.
Well, the minute Lamar threatened him, it wouldn't have been no coming back and finding me at this same place.
Right. He should have been gone then.
Right.
He should have been gone. That was it.
Exit stage left. I mean, why put yourself in that position?
And I said this last week, Lamar is unreasonable. Slick just looked out in a major way by getting his daughter back, and he still is so unreasonable. He brought up the fact that he gave away the stash spot that they had the drugs that they stole. So I was like, there's no pleasing this guy. So you should have already known once he was in that room singing, acting all calm. Nuh-uh.
Well, I mean, he did 4 years in the nut house, so we already knew that he was crazy.
Yeah,
Yeah, so I was like, and the way he unraveled at Monique's house, even the baby, even Zoe saw it. Like, Yeah, he came undone. He's a nut for real. We called it from the first episode, and yeah.
He doesn't take responsibility because all of this is him. You know, he didn't have to go and rob their house and steal their stash. He was the one who escalated all of these events. And they one-upped him. Of course, you know, Meech, they shouldn't have kidnapped the child. Everyone agrees, but he started that.
Mhm.
He went after them. He started that.
And my thing with him was, how are you out here starting a full-blown war with somebody? You done already pissed off your whole crew and they done pulled guns on you. So Slick is your last man left. That's on. How you gonna kill your last man?
And that was another point I wanted to make about Slick. Slick was the one that saved your butt when the crew pulled their, all their guns out on you, and Slick stepped in and had your back. He had your back. So, I mean, Lamar, it's got to be something better than the hands. I'm gonna think about it, but
you know what?
A straight jacket.
I think the straight jacket is it.
No, he doesn't need to be in any medical facility. The boy needs to get got. That's
And you know, the other part is the very opening scene, we see him rolling up on Meech, getting ready to shoot him up outside the liquor store. All them people standing out there, the kids and whatnot. Clearly, he has no regard for people's lives, not even the kids.
No, he doesn't.
well,
And you know what? He looks, if y'all are Wire fans, that is just the way Omar rolled. The trench coat, everything, the shotgun, he robbed the dealers. That was his MO. So I was like, oh my gosh, this is straight out the Wire.
Yeah, he already came for Terry. For Meech, he was trying to come for Terry at the school, but I think he figured it was gonna be too hot to do that.
Yeah, that was a bit.
He saw some people with him at the
school. Like, come on.
Well, I guess he had some sense. I have to give him that much, but
I thought it was interesting that because Terry was with his friend, a little white boy, he was like, no, I'm not gonna kill him. But I think
kill a white boy.
I think it had just been the brothers out there, he would have shot that school up.
Oh yeah, right. He can't kill a white boy. So he would have got life and
I think he recognized that because I think that's the only thing that stopped him. It didn't stop him at the store when he saw all those kids out. So I think that was the only difference.
Yeah, I got a white boy. Can't have that on my notch.
Well, basically that's what Meech said when he said when he told his crew don't sell drugs to the white people, because that brings attention. That brings the police. Is bad for business. And I think Lamar reasoned the same thing. I think he just was like, okay, I'm definitely gonna be sent to the bang, death row, whatever, for killing some white kids.
Never mind the fact that he got Detective Bryant rolling up on him already, questioning him about bodies. So he's already under the laser. Everybody's looking at his moves, trying to figure out what's going on and where these bodies are turning up from. And then what does he go and do but drop a body off at Tiny's house?
Mm-hmm. At the church.
Right.
That's the crazy thing. Yeah. And speaking of the church, Pastor Swift, he got to get the hands.
Yes.
Pastor Swift have accepting bribes under the table money.
He like Papa's dad.
And what he do? He gets all that cash from Tiny, and he only offers Charles $5.
Yeah, he puts his little thick wad aside and said, all I got is $5. Yeah, Pastor Swift.
Yeah, I think we should put him on a hands list.
He gotta get the hands.
Yeah, it looks like
in the pulpit.
Yeah.
So I was going to shift and talk a little bit more about Terry and Meech because they have this dilemma now. They've already been in trouble with finding a plug. Terry was able to get Big L. But Meech had his own plans, and he was going after this guy Q, who was apparently the gateway to start selling in Detroit. And so he was in high pursuit of this guy that is Tiny's cousin, so that he was kind of the middleman. And initially, at their first meeting, the guy's like, yeah, I heard about you. It's not sounding good for you because I heard that your last plug, you snaked them over. Mm-hmm. And so Pat is spreading rumors. Well, I don't even know if it's a rumor at this point. Because they did try to get over on him, but
they just tried to get out. I don't know. They tried to get over him. They just want to get out from under him.
Right. They just wanted closure. And Meech was smart to say, you can't believe everything you hear, because obviously Pat, he embellished the story quite a
Because
bit.
Pat was a crackhead. He was getting high on his own supply. I mean, he
Exactly.
was snaking, keeping his foot off their on their necks. I mean, they had to go, and he tried to do it in a way that was civil,
Yeah.
for both of them.
Yeah.
And at this point, Pat is being spiteful, which is why I think he should stay on the hands list.
Oh yeah. Nothing's changed since last week with him.
Nothing's changed.
No change. But they were thinking of ways to get the product out there now, because Meech has the whole crew pretty much watching the house and being bodyguards for the family. So the corner boys on the streets, they have to step it up now. And the idea came up to give B Mickey, his own brick. And Terry's hesitancy with that is we don't reward bad behavior. He was MIA. He hit up J-Mo. He got that kind of heat on us. No, we don't. No. We're not doing that with him. But it seems like B Mickey, it's a lot going on there, because by the end of the episode, he's saying, you treating me like the stepchild in this situation. I thought we were supposed to be partners. And he tells Kato eventually that he wants to branch off on his own. And I'm like, I really don't know if he means that or not, or if he was setting Kato up by passing her that information.
I think he meant it.
I think we saw this coming early on. I was like, oh boy, because Meech told Terry to front him the brick, and
he sold it to him.
He sold it to him, even though it was at a discount. But he did treat him like he was a corner boy and stuff. So the dynamics have changed. And I was saying that before about when you start, treating people a certain way, it changes the dynamics in the crew.
Well, Terry said outright, he said he's not at our level. He said he's not, at our level. So he said that was one of the reasons I sold it to him, because he's not at our level. But
he was a boy. That's the thing.
But there's that conflict between Meech and Terry, because it seems as though Meech wants to put him in line with them, but mistreats him at the same time. And Terry just sees him as an underdog. And, B just thinks, rightfully so, if he's been there since the beginning, maybe he should be treated differently. So I think he has a gripe. And unfortunately,
I think he has a gripe.
Yeah, and unfortunately, the route that he's taking isn't going to be good for him.
Yeah, and I'm kind of thinking when I said if he really meant that, or if he was setting Kato up, I think it might be a mix of the two. Yeah. Because if you've seen next week's previews, he's pulling out the strap on Kato, questioning her, pressing her for info. So I'm like, he already has suspicions of her after he found that little piece of letter at her house. And then Terry is already on to him. Terry seen the jacket at his house. He knows that he's sleeping with Kato, and mixing business with pleasure. I don't care what you say, it never works out.
She also knew better, because she said that in some of the prior episodes that it just doesn't work out. So, she's going against her own rule, or the rule of the street. So yeah, it's still hung up in the air for her as to which way she goes. But I did like her cleanup though about the little note. I thought she cleaned that up pretty well.
Yeah, but it still didn't make her look good, because it still only made it look like she was there because she was running from somebody else and she couldn't go home. So whether she legitimately liked him or not, he knew that she had a motive for being there, for coming to him. Yeah, and I don't think he can dismiss that. And I think the other part of it is I don't think the issue is them being together, it's them not telling everyone, them sneaking around, right? Because you start to see, okay, they're keeping a secret from us. Those two have something going on. And in that business, it's not just them having a romantic relationship. It's we can undermine you. We could be working against you. And we two have a loyalty to each other that we don't have to the rest of the crew. I think that's going to be the problem too.
Yeah, because that's what the conversation came to. He was saying, like, can I trust you? Can we trust each other?
Right.
Because apparently they don't feel as though they can trust anybody else in their crew. And so the other part of that was, with Kato, he was really pressing for more. Like, what are we? What is this? And so, Ron, I got to give it to you. It was right when you said that his nose is wide open.
Yeah.
I was like, B-Mick, I really thought you were smarter than that. And the only reason I still have hope from him is because I seen the previews for next week.
Right. But what was I saying about the kryptonite though?
Yeah.
The end of time. The end of time.
Yeah, unfortunately, it looks like it's going to be like that for life. But but that's the road he took. But it still seems as though B can't get with the fact that she wants him. He can't believe it still. He shows this sense of still trying, suspect as to what she's doing. So maybe
she's using him, but I think she does like him too.
Yeah.
She does like him.
I got that more this episode, I think, than I have in previous episodes. And I think you're right. I think that there is some connection there with B. And I honestly think, and I could be wrong, but I think that she is a willing subject in terms of getting with him and doing something on their own. It seems like that she's all for that too, because I believe she has aspirations of being queen pin, just as B, wants to be head. So it's an interesting buildup, and I think it would really move forward the next episode, or rather the next season, how they orchestrate this whole thing.
Yeah.
She looks like an opportunist though.
I'm sorry?
I said she still looks like an opportunist.
She did say she wanted to move up. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, we'll have to see how that plays out. I still think that it's about to be lights out for her and eventually for B-Mickey too. But
yeah, I was wondering if he gets out of this, because I was like
questioning him hard about J-Mo, what you did with the body, what you did with the gun. Like, he's still sketchy on that. And I don't know if they really believe that he went MIA for a good reason. I think they're very suspicious of him still, thinking he might have had something to do with their stash spot getting hit. And so the fact that he's aligning himself with Kato now, it's going to look like he was in on it, when they find out that she was involved.
I thought the same thing. And I was wondering too, with Lamar pulling up at will too, especially on Kato, the way he pulls up on, I could see something happening, with B-Mickey while he's present with her. I mean, I
feel like that might be coming next week or something.
Yeah.
I think maybe B-Mickey gonna be on his way over to her house and he gonna see Lamar stepping out or something. He's gonna find out one way or another. And I think that's why he ended up pulling that gun out on her for next week in the previews, asking her spill the beans, basically. I think it's coming to that.
That's very, very reasonable. I just want to know which one of them is going to take out Lamar. That's all I'm interested in right now. Lamar's got to go.
Gotta go.
Somebody
gotta go. Or is he going to be run out of town?
Oh God, no.
My other question for you guys, it seems like this is the end of an era. The 50 boys are no more. And I know his crew, they seem very, very happy to be getting, their own weight and to be able to do their own thing, make their own calls. Although Dink didn't do so well with it the first time around. And Terry, he struggled to let the reins go the first time because he was pissed off with them, and rightfully so, because little Curly don't look like he no more than 10 years old. He ain't had no business pushing.
They ain't had nobody leaving him with the work. They left a little boy.
Right.
That was crazy.
That was foolish right there.
That's a big mistake on Meech and Terry's part.
Well, that wasn't even Meech and Terry. That was
Dink.
Yeah. But then again,
because they're trying to let them run their own crews, basically. And
the smart move.
That ain't the smartest thing.
Well, it's a smart move to have them run their own crew because it takes Meech and Terry farther away from the deal. So it makes sense, but you got to know your crew. And, with that little 10-year-old being in the group and being Dink's responsibility, I don't know. I don't know if there should have been a conversation had about that boy being in there in that lineup in the first place.
I don't think Terry and them told him to do that. They said he gave him the work and told him to run their set. Right. And that's how Dink did it. That wasn't Terry and Meech's call. And I just feel like B-Mickey, he did kind of put them onto it, because when he was at the table, he was like, wasn't he talking about Dink when he said he wasn't the sharpest
Yeah.
tool in it? So he called it from jump. He put him on the game and said this guy ain't the sharpest knife in the drawer.
And
Right.
maybe you should have put him aside and either sharpen the knife or try to figure out what his plans are, because you're not the sharpest knife in the drawer. But what are you gonna do, Dink? Who you got? Who are you dealing with? You know, who are you gonna pull up to sell these drugs? Oh yeah, well I got Shorty over here, blah blah blah. No, we can't do it with little Shorty.
Little Curly, that was his name.
Yeah, I know. I'm just calling him Shorty because he's a young.
But I was already side-eyeing little Curly from the jump, because as he was at the outside of the store with Meech earlier in the episode, and he seen Lamar pulling up with the gun. Now he could have yelled to Meech like, "Yo, get out the way" or something before he ran off, but he was just gonna let Meech get hit up. Like he was like, "I'm looking out for myself. I'm out."
Hey, that's
I'm like, so these are the kids. That's what I'm saying. They kids.
Right. They're not ready for that prime time.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah, that was wild. But I think that Terry, like now they realize like we really got to let people make their own mistakes and learn. So he truly let go of the reins by the end of the episode as they were trying to think of a new name to call themselves. And they were like, I think Meech walked in and he was like, how about we call ourselves family? So I think now we're about to approach the BMF era.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but you got to be careful, because if your crew is weak, you don't have much of a chance. So I don't know, if I were they, I would start looking for. I don't know, what do you do in this situation though? Because you really can't trust anybody. If you try to bring new people in, new blood in, you don't know them. You don't know how it's going to work out. So I don't know.
Well, especially as they try to expand. Like, I think it's very smart to give the crew their own bags and let them do their own thing. That way, Terry and Meech, they not only remove themselves from the streets and like go further up the hierarchy, they now can move into other areas, which is this whole ordeal with Q. And so by the end, it seems like Meech kind of won Q over, and it's like they're about to start working together.
Yeah,
so,
like the record store, did I understand Meech had purchased the store, or
that's their store?
Okay.
Yeah. And that's another reason B Mickey was upset, because he's like, y'all out here purchasing, record stores. Y'all ain't let me know. You didn't bring me in on nothing. I thought we was partners. Like,
like you were missing. So
you snooze, you lose.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But again, it's I get what he's saying. They've been friends a long time, but they're brothers. They're brothers. And he's never gonna be at a level to where they saw themselves in it together because they were brothers. They've always been in it together. That's their relationship. And I don't think anybody was gonna be able to get in that position, in that number 3. They were always gonna be number 3. And that's what he didn't realize. And I think Meech, I think maybe understood a little bit more in that. I think he understood kind of his frustration and saw his hunger and was trying to help him out with that. Now, Terry didn't get that or wasn't going for it. Either way, it was always going to end up like this. It was inevitable.
Mm-hmm.
You know what? And I think we talked about this in previous episodes. There was all this chatter about people thinking that it was B Mickey that shot Terry rather than Lamar. And we all established that we thought it was Lamar. But son and I was talking about that, and he was like, the more and more I look at this, I'm thinking it could still possibly be Mickey or someone closer to the crew, because Lamar didn't know where they stayed. And I was like, and who was it? How were they able to pull up in front of his girl LaWanda's house and shoot him? Like, remember he told, Lamar was looking for them, trying to find out where his people stay after Meech grabbed Zoe. So I was just like, that's a good point. Like, he didn't know where they stayed.
They might be onto something. I still don't know if B Mickey is that bold.
I don't think so. I want to give B Mickey the benefit of the doubt. I want to give him.
You know what though? That makes that kind of draws inference to something else, because when B. Mickey was on the couch talking to Kato, and Kato was like, "You love that gun more than you know, just almost too much." And he started talking about how it got him out of certain things, but you know, that could be, you could have something. That might be a good clue. You might have something there.
I mean, I was for sure that it was Lamar, but then I thought about what he said. Like, you know what? He didn't know. I mean, he's just now really finding out where they stay. And at the time when he got shot, he did not know where they stayed.
Yeah, it's still something there. Doesn't mean he didn't know where LaWanda stayed, but yeah, that's a good point. I think he'll keep that.
Put that one up there to be, you know.
Yeah.
TBD, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so that's a good point. And Lamar, what he was trying to do this week, like especially after he realized he wasn't getting back in with Mo, he was like, I gotta get somebody that they love. So what does he do but go after their little sister Nicole?
Yeah.
And it's sad that it happened this way. And I kept seeing this happen as soon as Nicole and and Darius decided that they were gonna run off and try to get rid of the following them. I was like, it's coming. And so unfortunately, Darius tried to step in and do the right thing.
Tried to be chivalrous.
He tried, and he was such a nice young boy too.
And the sad thing about it, the sad thing about it is, had he not done that,
it would have been Nicole.
It would have been Nicole.
Yeah.
Or had they not tried to outrun security.
Well, that's the first one.
So not really understanding that you know,
danger
they're on your nerves, but they're there for a reason.
Exactly. And
well,
she,
you know, Meech and them gonna go off with that security guard because she shouldn't have got out of their sight.
Oh yeah.
Out of their sight.
Right. That's absolutely. And you know, it's youth. It's what youth does. They don't think about it, but she knew what the security guard was there for. But you know, this being in love and wanting to have privacy, you know, that just overwhelmed their, you know, ability to think. And you know, and so it's going to be real sad because now Nicole has that death on her. You know, she's probably going to, you know, take that pretty.
And the people was just standing around staring. She like, call the cops, call the ambulance.
You know these people.
She's gonna be she's gonna have an attitude with Meech and Terry too. She's probably gonna blame them.
She really should be upset that she lost the security guy that was supposed to be looking out for her. I think if anything, she's gonna probably blame herself.
Wait until
that too, she will, but she already said to Terry that you know, I feel like we're in the prison. How long is this going to go on? So they probably say like, this is your lifestyle. I mean, it's because of your lifestyle is why all of us are being impacted by this. That's why I mean, she's going to blame Terry.
And wait until Charles.
Oh my God, I was about to say that wrong.
Find out about that. Okay, when they find out.
Had before. He was going to blow it off the roof. He's going to be hot.
Done.
Yeah, because I guess Meech went to try to get Charles earlier in the episode. He told him like, Mom, she's been in the room. She ain't been talking to none of us. She hasn't been speaking. So she was really distraught about learning that these boys were involved. And, you know, eventually she hears Charles playing his guitar or whatever. She comes out and talks to him. And there's this conversation about using the hospital money to get Terry out of town, away from Meech. Of course, we learn about this lawyer that comes back in to inform them that that offer is no longer on the table. And Charles blows up on her.
Well, you know, okay, and to paraphrase what Charles said, he called her a two-bit lawyer, you know, and I don't know, she seemed to have her, you know, lawyer skills in place in the prior episode. But we did talk about this.
That lawyer, I think it's because of who she's associated with that he has attitude.
But we did talk.
Yeah, I think so too.
But we did talk about this prior to, you know, our show. What should she had done? I mean, you know, the clock is ticking. You know that there's a limit, a time frame on whether you accept this money or not. And it isn't clear. I'll give it that because they don't go through everything. But it should not have been a surprise to Charles and Lucille that that money or that that deal had been rescinded. And I say that to say that as a lawyer, you should have been on the phone at the door
You should have nudged
hours
him,
later.
but she did tell
saying-
him.
She
She
did
told
say
them up front when she hung up the phone
But
and
but I'm
said they're
saying-
offering this. It's a small window that if you don't take it, it's you stand a chance of going to trial and not getting anything. So
yeah,
she
but
told them that
as
up
their
front.
lawyer, I would have said you got hours now. We're right there
Yeah.
at the doorstep of
Yeah.
either you're going to take this money, because at the same token, if they're not going to take it, then she has to let the hospital know that they're not taking it and they're going to court. And even with that she needs preparation time. She needs to know, uniformly between them, am I going to do this? Are we taking this case? So I think I think still onus is on her to say, as the lawyer, as this legal mind, to say, hey, you need to make this decision now. You don't have another day. You don't have another hour. I need to know so that I can instruct the hospital lawyers on where we're headed.
I agree.
She should have nudged them. She definitely should have nudged them.
I see it completely different. I'm like, one, she's doing something most attorneys don't do. She's making a house call. So it's not like they're not getting some type of special.
Right.
So that's one thing to look at. They, she's already given them special treatment based on the relationship with the pastor. The other part of it is she told them, I'm not necessarily.
I'm with you on that, Lamar. She did tell them.
She told them, I'm not for holding people's hand. Look, you got a certain amount. Y'all figure that out. If I don't hear from you, that's your decision, because they did actually have a whole conversation about it not being enough money and about them wanting to go to trial and about him wanting justice.
They did. She did.
I'm taking no call as you don't want this offer.
Okay, I got one for you, LaWanda. You are a lawyer. What would you have done?
I'm telling you, you got.
She's telling you what she would have done.
No. Based on the conversation.
That's what she's saying.
Listen.
No
What would you?
response is
I
a
mean,
response.
would you
No
have given
response
them
is a
an
response.
additional nudge, LaWanda? Would you have given them that one
Based
last
on that
chance?
conversation, I'm telling you, based on that conversation, because when I watched the show today and he jumped down her throat, I was like, hold on, wait a minute. She told you had
She did tell you. She did tell you.
I wasn't surprised. He was surprised. That meant him as a client didn't listen or didn't understand. I think once she told him that, that's her responsibility. Maybe as far as like customer service or whatever, maybe you do have your assistant call them or send them an email. Yeah, but I don't.
But you know the stakes. When she hung up the phone, she told them the stakes. She was like, listen, this is what it is. This is what they're offering. She was like, if we don't take it, we stand a chance. If we go to trial, we may not get anything. There's a small window here. She laid all that out front.
And I'm in total agreement with that. And I'm not saying that she is responsible. I'm just basing it on, just like you said a minute ago, customer relations. Because you've already extended, wait a minute, you've already extended yourself, as you said, by going to the house and doing all these niceties that don't normally happen in a relationship with their lawyer. You've already done that. Would it have been so harmful to say,
it wouldn't have been harmful, but at the same time, I don't think she's negligent either.
No, and I'm not saying that. I just said.
How many times do I have to tell you 48 hours?
But I just said.
That's what I'm hearing in my head.
I just said she is not negligible. She's negligent, nor is she
So
responsible.
was that the window? Was that the window? Did they say 48 hours?
I think
In the earlier part, they did say 40. You had 48 hours.
All right then.
No.
All right then.
She's not.
I want to say she told them that in person, and then she had a phone call, so she got called again. That's where I am.
I gotta ask the spotters on this one. Spotters, drop down in the comments, please. Let us know.
Responsible.
If she told you 48 hours,
don't come back at me. Don't come back at me saying I said she was responsible. She is not responsible. Let me say this 100 times. She is not responsible. I'm just simply thinking that it would have been just that one extra customer service that you've already given to say, we got hours. What are you all going to do?
Well, spotters, let us know in the comments. Do you think the lawyer did enough when she told them from the jump about the timeline, or should she have given them a call a few hours before the offer was set to expire to see what they wanted to do? Let us know in the comments.
And don't hang me up now. Don't hang me up with that. I am not saying she was responsible. I can hear it now. Ron, you wrong. No. She is. I can hear it now. I am not saying that. Okay?
Well, you know what? The question now is they kind of have to go to trial now if they want something out of the deal.
No, I think that once you made that decision by not making a decision, that and correct me if I'm wrong, you know.
Well, they can still. I mean, but she's not gonna represent them
I was about to
anymore
say
because after Charles turned up, she was like, "Oh, okay. Well, I'm sending a termination of representation papers."
Charles got to get the hands just for that because
I thought he deserved the hands this week for that. I did.
I mean, at the end of the day, you can always settle up until you get a verdict. You know what I mean? You always have that. And it's what the issue is now, what leverage do they have? Because the attorneys basically threaten them. Like, I'm gonna expose you as a drug dealer. It had nothing to do with what actually happened. You see what I'm saying? They had leverage that was trying to basically persuade them to settle now and to settle at this low amount. So it's on. So let's say she's out the door and he goes to get a lawyer that's a little bit more savvy that may come up with some leverage on the doctor.
That's what I was about to say. Yes, they need to dig up some dirt.
They need to dig up some dirt. They have the money now. They can afford to buy a more savvy professional, quote unquote, dirty lawyer.
So now you question the veracity of the lawyer.
Well, I'm just saying it's a way to play the game, because it is a game. Like people, I hold no illusions that this is some lofty profession. It's a game. Who plays the best? So if y'all have the money and y'all can afford somebody that knows how to play that game, pay it. It's better.
They need a proctor. They need a proctor.
They need a proctor, exactly.
Or what was Matt's name? And goes to.
Yeah. But you think about it though, as that lawyer, I mean, she would have had the right to go to the hospital to find out how many other operations he had botched.
I'm sure it's not the first.
I'm sure it's not the first. And, you know, you would think that would have been something she would have been digging for. And doesn't mean that she wasn't. So, let me.
Probably was. I mean,
let me throw that caveat there. She could have been, and I hope she was.
But she also was right out of law school too. And Pastor Swift said that too. Like, she wasn't all that experienced. Like she seemed to be pretty capable and everything, but she wasn't all that experienced.
Still fresh, yeah.
She wasn't, but I think it had more to do with them bringing something that was not relevant to the case. Basically, we're going to threaten to expose your illicit activities. That was more, you know what I mean? She wasn't prepared to deal with that. Yeah.
Well, certainly the hospital cannot afford any
bad publicity.
Bad publicity that they would be getting from such a doctor that maybe had botched up several other operations. So it could have been, hey, tit for tat. Yeah, you can bring that up if you like, but this is what we got on you. And theoretically, as a lawyer, that you want to bring that into consideration, because it's going to weigh heavily on the jury as to how many times this doctor has botched operations. That is something that you really would want to know.
Yeah. And before we switch topics, because we were talking about Charles and Lucille, because they also, we know Lucille found out last week about the boys being involved, but this week Charles finds out that Terry is involved. And they really, after they realize that they are not going to have the money to send him away, they try to pull him into the bedroom and reason with him. And basically, Charles did not take finding out that Terry had been involved just as long as Meech has, as hard as I thought he would.
You know what? I was talking about this with my son. I was like, it's clear. Like when he talks to Terry, they try to reason with him. It's the way they communicate is so much different the way they communicate with Meech. It's really harsh. And it's like, yeah, Meech is a lost cause.
And
I was like,
LaWanda had a great
"Jeez."
point about this. I want you to speak to that, LaWanda.
Yeah, I was saying it has something to do with the demeanor of each of the boys, right? Because Meech directly challenges their authority, right? He undermines them and challenges almost like it's he targets their pride of their inability to, one, financially provide for them, and he doesn't have any humility about doing it. And I think that's what it is. It's not disrespectful, but it's disrespectful in a way.
Well,
Okay.
and Terry
He's very
did.
defiant.
Well,
Yeah,
Terry was much softer about it when he said, "You guys were working 4 jobs between the 2 of you, and you still can't pay the mortgage." I mean, that's a reality that you cannot overlook. And I think if I saw correctly, I think that statement alone kind of softened Charles a bit, because Charles, as you said, does not approach Terry the same way he does Meech.
But you see, I think what this here is not what you say, it's how you say it.
Yeah.
And the way that Meech and Terry communicate are completely different. And it's also a thing of sometimes it's not what said, but who said it. Because coming from Terry, they are willing to listen to his but coming from Meech, it's like nope.
It's like no, and I hear you. I take your point on LaWanda. I think you're right about that. But in the beginning, Meech had a similar conversation with the mom. He was like, when they were in the room, he was like, "Mom, the jobs and you working, and I can't work in a fast food joint." And she said, "You think you better than me or something?" And he said, "No, Mama." I mean, he was really like he wasn't arrogant. He was vulnerable and everything in that moment and stuff. So I was like, I
was speaking more to Charles's position.
No.
I think Mom treats them both the same on some levels.
But Charles is real heavy-handed with Meech, but with Terry, it's more understanding. His communication is definitely different. And then he was just like, we just gotta face the facts that Meech is a lost cause.
He didn't call Terry out though. He told me he was ignorant because Terry was like, it don't matter who sells drugs. Somebody gonna profit off of it. So why can't it be us?
Terry did sound ignorant saying that.
Yeah, but and as I said earlier, I think it's going to be Terry that convinces Charles to come along with the program, because the way he hugged him up in a sense with that one hand over his neck, that was some sort of reassurance to me. Now, what was he reassuring? I'm not exactly sure. Maybe it's love. I still love you, whereas with Meech, he'd rather just take a gun and blow his brains out. I mean, I
think this comes down to because they think they can still save Terry. And I didn't even realize that Terry is as young as he is, because I thought that he was maybe like a junior or senior in high school, but from their career fair, which we'll jump to next, but he wasn't even eligible to participate in that. And so that lets me know he wasn't even a junior. So
no, he was a sophomore.
I thought.
He's like 16.
Yeah, so they think that, okay, he's not too far gone. We can still, rein him back in.
So how old is Meech?
18.
Okay.
I think as parents, you recognize your personalities of your children. And I just think for them, Meech is not, I'm not going to say he's not reasonable. He may be a little strong-willed, that once he made his mind up, there's nothing they can do to change it, but they still feel like maybe Terry is reasonable, maybe we can talk to him. And what I've also noticed too, Terry was still trying to play the game. I'll be your son, I'll live in your house, I'll pretend I don't have this car, I'll come home at curfew. Meech was like, I'm not doing any of that, right? So at the end of the day, even though he was doing exactly what Meech was doing, he was still trying to play the role of their son. He was
he was still going to school. He was not
trying to undermine their authority or be disobedient or be disrespectful. He was still very humble, and I think that's just the difference. And so if you're a man of the house and you have a son that's trying to be the man of the house, y'all gonna bump heads. And I think that's the difference.
That's true. And the good example of that was Meech, like he took the key and Meech still comes and goes as he pleases. It's like, oh yeah, the extra key is in the backyard. So he was just like, well, shoot, you're going to come and go anyway.
Right.
And that's exactly it. But I thought it was what caught me is the mom said, that you can't use poverty as a scapegoat for immorality. And when you think we're worried about all this stuff, we're worried about your soul, right? And I think that's something that has to cut you as a child when your parents.
I was like, amen, when she said that.
She
and she said it. Yeah, she said it to the right person too, because if she had said that to Meech would have said, "My soul ain't bringing in no cash."
Already said it to Meech though.
Yeah, well, yeah, it didn't. It doesn't.
Well, and he said to her, he said, "Mom, keep praying for me."
Well,
so he may not be acting on it, but he's still hearing it. It's still there.
Right. It's still.
And that's why I said Lucille really doesn't treat them any different. She's worried about.
No, she doesn't. Charles does.
Charles is the one that has
Charles,
yes.
You know, and I get it because I grew up like that. My mom was very religious. We were at the church every time the door opened. And I think what the disconnect is, my grandfather was a preacher. And so my mom kind of grew up in a similar way that I did. As soon as she got grown, she ran away from it, right? But then she gets older to go and bring her kids to it. And the disconnect is they're telling you something like that. I'm worried about your soul, but the child is looking at the actual reality. You worried about my soul, but where we gonna live and where we gonna eat? Yeah. Somehow these two things got to meet up, right? There's a disconnect. You can't be, so holy that you're no earthly good.
No,
right?
Yeah. So heavenly bound, you're no earthly good. And you know, and Charles has got to understand where his children are coming from. Mm-hmm. They have seen the struggle. They are actually participants in this struggle that the parents are having just to pay the mortgage.
4 jobs and they still not able to make ends meet.
Still can't. And you cannot expect kids that have that type of ambition, because basically what we're talking about is their ambition to survive. When you cut away the drugs, you're looking at what kind of opportunities do they have. They're looking at their parents struggling and working their fingernails to the bone, and they say to themselves, "Okay, I have this opportunity. Let me help." Now, admittedly, no good parent is going to allow that, but at some point, you gotta check your mind and say, these kids are right. We're not making it. We're going to lose this house. What do we do?
Now,
that unfortunately is where they are. And
I don't know. I think the difficulty is, do you say, okay, then you have a cutoff point. So if you're going to do this, then what we have to do is step in and make sure you have an exit strategy. We can't stop you from doing it, but maybe what we can do is figure out a way for you to get out of it and not have to do it.
And that's
like Snowfall.
Yeah, exactly.
Did she have that conversation with Franklin?
Exactly. And that makes so much sense.
Not in a way that pulls you in, because I think the lure not even the lure. I think that once you get that kind of comfort from not starving, for not always looking over your shoulder, thinking you're going to get put out and you can't pay the bills, it can become addictive.
Of course.
How do you do this and get out and really get out and never have to come back and do this again and not get caught up and addicted to that fast money?
Well, establishing businesses, that can make money, and that's where the wisdom of the parents come in terms of establishing some sort of business, which they do in real life, that can take you away from that drug scene.
I was thinking that was maybe the purpose of the record store that they bought, to be aside from the drug money, something legit that not only can it be a cover for their stash spot, but it's actually a legit business. Now, I don't agree with them bringing a stash up in there and trying to run stuff. They got to have something that's completely removed from the streets.
Mm-hmm.
And then to your point, about the lifestyle being addicted, Terry was just telling me, like, what is our exit plan? And Meech was like, I want to take over. He's still trying to do his global takeover. And
that's Franklin. That's Franklin and Snowball.
And Terry checked him again too about the kidnapping, and he was like, it was a soft kidnapping. And I'm like, see, it's like, Meech underestimates the actions, and I think some of the things that he's doing. And Terry, like we have always called, he is like thinking 10 and 20 steps ahead.
Yeah, Meech only is very myopic. He doesn't see anything except what he wants, and whatever is in his way, doesn't matter.
Find a way.
Huh?
That's what we will give him. And you said strong will, but Meech is the kind of person where there's a will, there's a way. So he's gonna find it.
I think Terry's moral compass is different than Meech's.
Oh, definitely.
Yes, I was just about to bring that up because we seen when he was, being interviewed kind of by that recruiter at the college fair, how he could not even clearly answer the questions. Like he started off okay, but the more he was being asked questions about how he overcame different challenges and whatnot, he couldn't even relate it to his school experience. He is so entrenched in the streets and in this drug lifestyle that's all that was drawn to mind when he was being questioned. And all of these negative experiences and flashbacks keep popping up in his head. Now, we don't ever see that with Meech. It's kind of like we know Meech cares about what he does, and he doesn't necessarily ever want to resort to violence, but I don't think in his mind it affects him as much as it does Terry.
Right.
Terry, yeah, and you saw that in his flashbacks. I mean, it seemed like every question led back to something that they did was just horrible, but it also showed me a different side of Terry as well, because prior to this, I didn't know that it affected him as much as it does. I didn't see that.
In the other episode, he was having flashbacks too.
Yeah.
Last week he was too.
Now, the only pushback I kind of have about the street lifestyle and them needing to be so deep in it as they are to provide for themselves, like to a certain extent, I know they're doing what they have to do, but it's not like they're completely void of opportunities, because Terry is very smart and the teacher is putting him on. Like he's going out his way to say, like, look, this is my old college roommate, he's working at this college, I can possibly set you up so you do have the opportunities that you're
looking. He asked for it. I mean, he was the one that went in the teacher's office and asked for this opportunity.
Exactly. Right. That's what kind of conflicts with me. You ask for it, but then when you get it, and you just can't seem to arise to the occasion. But that bit of money, let's say he were to take a job, let's say the person was able to offer Terry a job, that's pennies on the dollar in terms of what he believes they need to survive, make it out there. So Terry's got a lot on his mind.
I don't think it would have been a job offer, but the fact that you're on the radar of somebody who can get you accepted, what if it means a full ride to some college where you don't have to pay to go and get higher education, which we know back in the early 90s or something that they're living in, like that would have been major for him.
It would have been, but I think a couple of things about it. One, I think he's a kid. They're doing adult things, but they're children.
They're children.
And it's very traumatic. He was shot. They witnessed people be murdered. They know that their actions have caused other people to lose their lives. And I think that's a lot to weigh on a young person, especially a kid who does have some type of conscience. So you can't underestimate that. You talking about school or something that in the scheme of things would be very trivial to what's going on in his life at that point. So I think looking at it like that, I could see how he's like, why am I here talking to this man about going to college when I can basically pay my tuition right now by myself? I can pay your salary, I can pay my teacher's salary, right? So the whole idea of him going to school, I think there was something in the commentary, what for? Unless you're going to a school to get some type of certification that only you can get by going, like a doctor, lawyer, or something like that, an accountant, what would he be going to school for?
I guess what I'm getting at is I think he's torn because he truly is living a double life. And so he's torn between trying to do the right thing and please his parents, and then the actual situation that's in front of them. They're living in extreme poverty, and he has a way to make these massive amounts of money, but it's not legit. And so they have the law on their backs and everything else. And so he's really trying to balance these two lifestyles and please everybody in the process. And you like, that's the problem with being a people pleaser, because
it's also a recipe for disaster, because you can't please everybody.
right.
You know, and you're absolutely right. He's trying to please his, you know, his brother, you know, but it does seem to me that he's looking more toward the drug side of things and giving less to actually the school side, because he's, you know, he's been missing classes. And I think that he's kind of allowing himself to just move more closer to his brother and what his brother's doing. So he's believing in what they're doing, apparently. It'll be interesting to see what he does.
Well, if you kind of heard about the commentary that older Meech was kind of narrating the episode, and he was talking about school and how it's so comparable to being in the streets. You learn math, you learn chemistry. And so to your point about stuff like that, he is not as interested in the school stuff because he's already getting the real world application. In the streets.
Exactly.
And so it's like, okay, I already know this, and it's not enticing to him, and it's probably not even mentally stimulating because he's already gotten the experience. He's probably 10, 20 steps ahead of everybody else in his school.
Oh yeah.
Because he's already lived it.
You know, what it says to me is that you have these kids with these innate genius and abilities to run a business. If they could just somehow apply that energy to something that wasn't drugs, something that was legitimate, something that wouldn't get them arrested or killed, they could express that. Because at this point, because they've done so much, how can you contain all of that and go sit in class?
Exactly.
Right.
You know,
but
like I'm sitting here and I run a whole business.
But exactly right. I mean, to be able to manipulate a business, a drug business at that, and the fashion that they do shows in genius type of mentality, but it's that quick money that comes from the drugs. You know, I don't have to go through 4 years of college to make my money. I can do it right here and now with my, you know, way of thinking. So I think that money is ruling everything.
It's kind of the same argument of kids who like may forego college and go straight to the league to play ball or something.
Exactly.
Because that's, at the end of the day, that's the goal, right? So again, what's good about the show is it's kind of dealing with the whole issue. And the issue at the end of the day is the lack of resources, or them seeing the lack of opportunities. And how do you overcome that? What do you do when you're in a situation where it seems like everything that you would try according to the law is either not available or will dry up as soon as you touch it?
In fact, I had a teacher one time tell me in college, he said, you go to school to make money. You don't make money to go to school. Because I had an opportunity to do something that, you know, was very rare for a college student who hadn't completed college. And I brought it to his attention, and that was his comment, which basically said to me, yeah, if this is going to give you that opportunity now, go ahead and take it. I didn't. I wanted to finish school, but I understood, though, you know, it was quite tempting. You know, and I guess if I had had the circumstances, family circumstances that he had, I might have gone ahead and done that.
And, you know, in some ways, I think about it too, and the whole conversation surrounding like higher education has been called into question about whether it's even necessary, because so many people have the skills and they have the know-how. Going to college is kind of just like the way that you formalize it and you learn your life experiences there, but it's kind of just really another hoop for people to jump through to get to there. It's a means to an end. Like ultimately, you still trying to get the money. And that's, I just thought that was interesting, because I said that was kind of one thing that I would say that Terry has going for himself, but it's also something that it seems like just another hoop to jump through at the same time. So I'm hoping things work out as we go forward into next week. Like we said, we know Charles and Lucille are going to blow it like they're gonna tear the roof off of that house as soon as they understand what could have happened to Nicole.
Right.
And it looks like next week she's being pulled in for questioning, and the cop is sitting up there telling her, like, you know, it's a crime to lie under like once you're being questioned, you can't lie to a cop. So I'm thinking Nicole will probably give some version of what happened. I don't know if she's gonna necessarily rat out her brothers. We know she might have some guilt and some ill feelings maybe towards them for what happened to Darius, but I don't know that she'll give up the whole story.
All she can say is we were walking down the street and some crazy man came out and stabbed him.
And they got plenty of witnesses.
Yeah.
And it looked like he tried to abduct her. So
Oh, he did.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
does she know Lamar? You know,
No, I don't think so.
Only from the
Lamar
mall.
said-
from
I
the
mean,
mall.
Oh, from the
She
mall.
saw-
Okay.
is what Lamar said, you know, something happened to your brother, come along. And, you know, so, yeah, if she doesn't know, she doesn't know. So no matter what the police officer asks, you know, all she knows is somebody tried to abduct me and this same person killed Darius.
Mhm.
Maybe this is what they need to get him off the street. Maybe Lamar will end up going to jail instead of us thinking he was going to get killed. This might send him back to the
Yeah.
bank.
Murder
tell you-
charge.
I'm gonna tell you why I like
Something
to
that can
see it.
actually stick rather than the petty burglaries that he was charged for and things like that.
I like to see Detective Bryant just do one more dig dastardly thing and get Lamar off the streets permanently.
Well, it looked like he's under fire next week too, because the
Yeah.
same cop is telling him, you know, Lopez told me some stuff about you, and if you a dirty cop, what she say? I'm a wash you and hang you out to dry.
Mm.
So I was like, Bryant, you might
Now,
not.
Lopez is a snitch. We wondered last week. We said, which way is he gonna go? Is
Right.
he gonna force his hand? So he's snitching. Okay.
It sounds like it. Definitely sounds like it. And also we got LaWanda putting the press on Terry too, basically saying, choose between me and Meech. And so it seems like every turn Terry is being pushed to choose between somebody or Meech. It's either the family or Meech, or it's LaWanda or Meech, or, you know, so it's like he's getting it from every angle.
And Mom knows he's not gonna give up his brother. They've been together side by side, you know, since day one. So everybody else can just take a back seat.
I can't see Terry making that choice. So LaWanda might be disappointed.
Yeah, I think so.
Might be the end of that relationship.
Looks like it.
And there's also a conversation next week between Terry and Meech saying they think they're in too deep. So it looks like they're also having issues with Big L because Terry seemingly can't meet his deadline, and she's like, I'm not giving you no extension. So they got a lot to deal with. It's a lot on their plate. And hopefully if Lamar can get arrested and taken out of the picture, then that will take one headache away.
So they can breathe.
And I already mentioned that B. Mickey is rolling up on Kato with a gun next week. So hopefully he won't let his heart cloud his judgment and he can figure out what's going on with her, because she is still highly questionable. She still needs to be checked for what she got going on.
Gotta close that nose. Gotta close that nose. It's too wide open.
So I think that we have called out some of our predictions already, but do you guys have anything else you want to add to predictions?
No, I'm good.
I'm good too.
I'm still wondering about the remaining crew, Tiny and whatnot, because Tiny got that body dropped off at his house. And we know the cops are, you know, sniffing around with different drug dealers and things like that. So I'm hoping that that might not get Tiny caught up. Because he seems like the pathway into this deal with Q. We also know that at some point Eminem, he is set to play White Boy Rick on the show.
That's next week, episode 7.
I'm thinking that this whole deal with Q with the pathway into Detroit is going to lead us to White Boy Rick, because, you know, Eminem, he's a Detroit native, so it's really fitting for him to kind of play a role in the show as someone from Detroit. And I think that's where that character is going to come into play. So if that's next week, I'm looking forward to seeing.
That's next week, and that's the episode that 50 is directing.
That's going to be good. I'm excited. Like, this was maybe one of my favorite episodes this season.
Yeah, this episode was really good.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I just like I keep saying this about the actors and the talent, but they're just so like incredibly talented and multifaceted, because who knew Lamar had a voice like that? So shout out to Kofi.
Lamar was blowing one.
Yeah. Which is another reason to run.
Right.
Yes.
That's another reason to run.
And that song is a classic too.
You know, you can't have such an angelic voice and be so evil. So it's
like,
time
he's about to kill him.
it's time to jet.
Yes.
Yeah.
Shout out to Kofi for being so multifaceted. I mean, he's showing out.
Beautiful voice.
Yeah.
Mm-mm.
So
Yeah, it's been a pleasure, and I really hate to see this season end, because I've just been captivated since episode 1, and that is all for the writing and the acting, superb.
And shout out to the BMF crew, BMF, the actors and everyone that showed us love on social media. We really appreciate it.
yeah,
Miles,
Definitely.
Da Vinci.
yeah, Da Vinci, and even the I'm forgetting her real name, but she plays Big L.
Yeah.
She also showed us some love on social media. So shout out to all of you guys. We truly appreciate it. And hopefully we can get y'all on one day to chat it up with the Spot Real Talk.
Yes.
Thank you to all of our viewers. Thank you for sticking around this long to hear all of our banter. I know we argued a little bit, but drop down in the comments and let us know, first of all, about that whole lawyer situation and what y'all think about that. And then drop the comments. Also give us your predictions for next week and also what you thought about this episode. Be sure to follow us online. We are at the Spot Real Talk on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook, and also TikTok. So follow us there. And be sure to like this video, subscribe to our channel, and click the notification bell so you get alerted every time we post.
Don't worry about me and Tiffany. We argue every show. So that's just the way it is.
We fail.
If they're watching long enough, they know this ain't nothing.
Yeah, I say if they've been watching us from day one, they know that the dynamics.
For you newbies, this is an old thing. So don't
right.
It's all love. It's a family.
It's all love. It is.
You definitely.
So thank you guys again for watching. And also be sure to come back next week when we go ahead and recap episode 7 of BMF. And also, if you're staying up late tonight, we will be reviewing Insecure, another of our favorites. So tap in with us later on tonight as we are we going live?
Yeah, we will.
Okay. That's the plan. The plan is to go live and discuss Insecure. So if you'd like to chat with us in the comments, and we'll do our best to catch your comments and respond as you watch with us. Recap with us. Then we could definitely enjoy having you. So tap in with us around 10:30, 11. Check. If you click the notification bell, you'll get alerted anyway. So that's more incentive for you guys to go ahead and do that.
Definitely.
But thanks again for watching. I think we are going to call it a night. Bye. See you next week.
Bye. Off of that jet pipe, off of that side. I'm in that new coupe. My nigga, I been fired. I said what I said, right? Yeah, I get that check, right? I'm so blessed, right? Off of that jet pipe, off of that west side. I'm in that new coupe. My nigga, I been fired. I get that check, right? Look. I don't do no fake love. Tell little bruh shape up. The way we lit, they throwing shade, but they never say nothing.